This is Daily Blast Live. We're talking about what you're talking about.
You all ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
Dun, 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 dun.
This is a sham.
No. Y'all, just stop.
Get real.
Welcome to DBL. We got a ladies show.
We do. How's it going?
Show. Good to
I missed
see you.
y'all.
See, how was New York?
It was good. My sister's having her baby soon. I got to go see her before she has the little boy in our family. And we're going to have 3 kids, grandkids from our mom. So that's going to be a little hectic.
And did Kinsley meet?
Oh my God, I got to show you guys tomorrow. I didn't send the video. Kinsley met my 106-year-old Nana for the first time. And I bawled crying, and I don't even want to talk about it because I'm going to start crying right now. Let's focus.
But
I will bring it. I'll bring it tomorrow.
We have to see that. Isn't that stunning? You look stunning. Everyone looks stunning.
Thank you, Tori.
I don't feel great. Here we go. Here we go. The U.S. is stepping up pressure on Russia, and the president announced yesterday we are going to ban all Russian oil. I'm sure some of you have heard of that. And more U.S. businesses are actually shutting down operations there. McDonald's said they're temporarily closing hundreds of restaurants, but will still pay their Russian employees. And check out the long line of cars at the drive-thru in Moscow. Everybody wanting their Big Macs as people tried to get in one last go. Other companies are also shutting down, including Starbucks, KFC, Pizza Hut, as well as Coca-Cola and Pepsi. But there are other U.S. companies like hotel chains, the Hiltons, the Hyatts, the Marriotts, that are still operating in the country. Papa John's is keeping its locations open. So is Burger King. But the King is giving all their Russian profits to relief efforts. Now, a lot of people are calling for all U.S. companies to stop doing business in Russia. But we want to know what you think, DBL Nation. Should they all close down? Go ahead to dblvote.com to weigh in while we have this discussion. Lindsay, what do you think about this?
The war is happening real time.
Right.
And so I think the coordination has to be key. The fact that we're always all over the place with every decision with NATO and then with all the business owners, like there's been times when you guys are all in a room or all on a phone call or have access to that call, and let's decide how we're going to move as a country. And so a lot of these are American companies. And so you need to go over there and make a plan that's going to work. And I think half of them saying we're still going to operate business as usual is sloppy. And then half of them saying we're going to get rid of everybody having a chance to work out here. And I know it's not going to affect Putin if we don't have companies there. I know it's not going to affect the oligarchs that report to Putin or anybody in that type of diplomatic that's tied to Putin in that way. But the business owners that are right in the tier underneath that wanted to travel freely when we're cutting off these airspace travels, and everybody who thought they could own small businesses and have wealth, these are the people that actually have the means to revolt and say that they're not going to deal with this from their government. They're not the lower class. And so they have the money and the means to do it, even with the fact that the economy is in disarray. And so we're shutting off their supply to be able to be profitable small business owners, and I think that this is going to really hit Russia in a way that's going to make them react. I mean, the sanctions are helping, but this is something that's really specific, and I think companies should get on board and say, we're going to all stop business with you guys and make sure that every existence and part of living out there is hard.
It's hard.
Like hard.
I know exactly. I agree with you. What do you think?
Well, I agree with Lindsay in terms of the coordinated effort. Also, like, if there is a rule, like, let's keep it consistent.
Right.
You know, everything seems to be, like, based on who it involves, what companies it involves, what their actual, like, ideology is, and it's very confusing. I think when you're talking about the, you know, kind of, I guess it would be the upper class or, you know, upper middle class, upper class, you have to consider there's such a disparity between the rich and everyone else in Russia. So by the time that people who are in authority to make these decisions, such as Putin and his boys, or whatever you want to call it, they're not affected. So it's not surprising that, you know, shutting down a McDonald's or something isn't immediately causing, you know, the agency for change. I think consistency is key. I 100% agree with Lindsay.
Yeah, strategy. Get all the corporate heads together, make a thing. That's what World War I, World War II, we all did it together. We all decided, and make it a complete strategy. I agree with you guys. Let us know what you think. Also, are you going to boycott, like Papa John's? I'm not eating a Papa John's. But
Papa John's has been boycotted for quite some time. I just want to be clear. We've been boycotted Papa John's.
They need to stay open over there.
They can stay Russian over there. All right, let's see what our final vote is. Should all U.S. companies stop doing business? Wow, 94% of you, almost a full full majority say yes. I think it's the patriotic thing to do. Make it as difficult to survive there as possible. All right, well, I don't know if you have heard of this, but some U.S. veterans are vowing to take up arms and go fight in Ukraine, including one U.S. Army vet named Cody Hurd. He posted about it to TikTok. Take a look at this.
I'm a blue-collared, everyday working American, pretty much live paycheck to paycheck. I got a wife and 2 kids, but I'm there to go and help the Ukrainian people. No, I'm not there to go and, necessarily fight Russians, but I am there to make a difference, and if that's training civilians how to defend themselves, my plan is to, and a lot of our plans are to spend at least 30 days in country.
Okay, so Ukrainian President Zelensky has urged all citizens of the world to come and join the fight. But the White House is discouraging Americans from going. And I want to let you guys know, 3,000 American volunteers, veterans, have announced a formation of what they're calling the International Legion. It's like from all over, they're creating their own team. Do you think this is a good idea, a bad idea? Cody is leaving, he said, this week for Ukraine. What do you think, Erica?
I am in awe of Cody's of the world.
I know. I'm like they just hear the call.
I think that some people are just so pulled to do something, to get involved, to fight for the greater good, and that is so admirable.
I know.
I struggle with this conversation because obviously I think with the conversation no one's really having is the idea of if American citizens are over there and something happens, then does that automatically pull the country in? But much to the conversation that we were having earlier, that's not across the board.
Right,
so
it's not consistent.
Yes, and we'll get more into that later.
And I think
Lens, what do you think?
Putin issued a statement Saturday saying basically with all these sanctions, you guys have declared war. And so we don't know if he's bluffing or if he feels that way seriously. So boots on the ground are obviously going to agitate that. But I always think that we find in situations that get this crazy that the people of each country are the people that come together. Even in Egypt, when we saw them have an uprising against their government, the people actually come together and decide what they want to do. Sometimes that overwhelming majority is the people that make the choices. And so if that many soldiers want to go help them out, NATO and America and Biden might have to have an open ear and listen, because you can't really stop people from going out there to help. And so we're going to be in a predicament where we now have to act because 3,000 people have made a choice.
Right, and that's a lot. You got to organize that. At some point, I wonder if they'll send in, and again, this is just speculative, SEAL teams, only because for boots on the ground, it's a smaller, more deliberate way of fighting instead of just like an enormous amount, and it's more like a scalpel instead of a hammer. But we'll see. So far, they are White House is discouraging them from going, and the embassy, they said, many have interested Ukraine embassies for travel. So amazing people, amazing souls. Just don't know if it's the right thing to do at the right time. Let us know what you think. Coming up on DBL, a mom who's made it her mission to climb some of the world's tallest peaks, how a near-death experience changed her perspective on life, and the latest on the WNBA star arrested in Russia. We're not done talking about it. What's being done to bring Brittney Griner home safely? Stay tuned.
Closed captioning provided by
Let me be.
Uh-oh, came to me. Oh, man.
Right.
And
Okay,
go.
cool.
I mean, it's just like continuing the conversation about Russia. We are in a position where we've been like 2 weeks into this war, and so that's not a long time, but you can have a conversation asking what we want to do as a group. I think business owners knew their businesses were there. I think that the government knew that Russia was planning to have this type of behavior. This wasn't a surprise, and so the fact that we can't make a decision like let's cut off the oil at the same time, or let's
Thanks, guys.
work together as NATO is kind of just only making this exacerbated. I think I just like keep looking at every decision. That's the same thing we said about COVID when everybody was like taking long to decide what we do with the mask. It's like these decisions are like so real time and have to be made so on point that we don't have time to play games with like different people and their opinions. It's like we know Russia's about to get into this war. What would we do if they act?
And
we could have came up with like 3 plans.
I know.
And not agreed on them, but at least had 3. Now we're kind of like No, we don't want to do oil. No, we don't want to do the banks. No, we don't want. And it's just like, okay, well.
Well, they are saying, Russian Defense Ministry spokesperson said that foreign fighters, if they join from America or any other country, will not be exempt from rules guiding the treatment of POWs. What that means is they won't be treated like with the Geneva Convention. They won't be held to a standard of no torture, of no killing. They will be held to as if they just illegally invaded that country. So that's also terrifying for anybody who's thinking of volunteering, and also incredibly brave. But without having the Geneva Convention rules of war, it becomes a guerrilla war. It becomes a free-for-all, which can mean torture and horrible things for anyone coming from outside of the country. So I don't know. I'm impressed with those people, as Erica said, but I don't know if it's the right thing to do. Welcome back. We are going to continue the story that's following Olympic gold medalist and WNBA star Brittney Griner, who is right now being held in Russia. Now, Russian state media shared this alleged mugshot of Brittney yesterday. She's holding a sign that appears to have her name on it. Brittney has not been seen since she was arrested at an airport in Moscow after authorities there claim they found cannabis oil vape cartridges in her luggage. Now, there is a change.org petition that Erica so beautifully said, and a lot of our DBL viewers have actually signed. They're calling for Brittney's swift and safe return. Since we started, Erica showed me it was like at 1,900 people signed. Now nearly 45,000 people have signed. And the woman, the journalist who created the petition, spoke about it to CNN. Let's take a look at her.
I just don't want Brittney Griner and the other people being held in Russian prisons to be lost in the narrative. I don't want time to just pass and for them to kind of fall through the cracks with all the ramifications of what's happening due to Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
What do you think about this, Erica, and also the jump in the numbers?
Well, first of all, I just want to, no, that's not me, that's Tamron. Tamron Spruill is who we just saw on CNN. She covers women's sports, and she was really the first and most amplified voice to even get this story out there because no one knew what was going on.
She created the petition.
Exactly. Yeah. She created this petition. She has been working around the clock, and I just want to send a lot of love and light to her because this cannot be easy. First of all, we just had this conversation about the idea of Americans going over to fight against Russia and what could happen. We have an American citizen who is currently being detained in Russia right now. You see that photo, and it looks like a hostage situation.
It for sure does.
Honestly.
It for sure does.
And I am blown away by the fact honestly, this is my biggest issue now that we're about 4 days in from the world knowing that Brittney's been over there for over 3 weeks. People are so quick to talk about the distrust of Russia, but you get Brittney Griner over there, and all of a sudden, everything that they said about her being detained, Russia is the gospel.
Right.
We have not heard from Brittney or anyone who has spoken out on her behalf. So before people run and jump all over themselves to conclusions, why don't we hear both sides of the story? Because it doesn't seem that far-fetched to me that a country that is currently being sanctioned due to human rights violations could have detained her for their own gain. So I would like for people to at least take into consideration that we haven't heard the full story and that this is a dire situation. We do not know if she is being detained in solitary confinement. We don't know about her physical well-being. We don't know about her mental health. This is a dire situation, and people need to be taking this seriously.
I agree. I had people writing me, no, I'm not going to sign the petition.
Oh, and people are so upset about it.
And people were like, well, you shouldn't have brought drugs on the plane. I thought, you think Putin couldn't have put that there? Honey, he started this war.
Don't get me started on people who are talking about the fact that she's a triple minority doesn't mean anything, because y'all were real quick real quick to automatically indict her, only knowing Russia's side of the story. So
Right.
tell me what that means.
What do you think, Linz?
I mean, diplomatic relationships with Russia are non-existent right now. And so if she was captured 3 weeks ago and her family knew she was missing, maybe something should have been done immediately, knowing that Russia had the intention to go into Ukraine and was going to be a warlike situation or war.
Yeah.
And so we didn't do anything with that information if we had it, or we didn't take it seriously. Like you said, it took a journalist, a black woman, another one,
Right.
to bring it to the forefront. And so, you know, this is a global citizen. We're not talking about somebody who just is a woman over there that we don't have
She's
to.
an Olympic medalist.
She's an Olympic medalist, and not only for the U.S., she's won a championship as recent as 2021 for Russia. And so this is a global citizen that's doing good things in the world. The only reason she was over there is because the NBA doesn't pay women enough. That's a whole different WNBA. That's a different conversation. And so we need everybody to speak up and use their platform, because she needs to come back home. That needs to be a #1 priority, not just something that Biden has on the list of 10 things to do in the next 2 weeks. It needs to be a #1 priority.
I agree. Imagine if Shaun White was stuck over there. We should be raising hell. We will here at DBL. Coming up on DBL, a mom who's on top of the world. This woman is incredible. Jen Drummond, shares how she's made it her mission to climb some of the tallest mountains out there. It's incredible. Stick around.
From our experts and our research, we found that the United States only gets a small fraction of its oil from Russia, but we don't need to import any Russian oil for it to affect our prices, because as we found in the oil game, it's all from the same barrel. In several emails, viewers asked us, if the U.S. only imports a small fraction of crude oil from Russia, why are U.S. gas prices rising? Well, let's verify. To explain, we went to the U.S. Energy Information Administration and 2 fuel experts, Patrick Dahan from Gas Buddy and Sasha Mackler from the Bipartisan Policy Center. It might be hard to believe, but the U.S. and Russia are both in the top 3 of oil producers in the world.
While we do produce an enormous amount of the oil that, on a volumetric basis, that we consume, we are also sending a lot of oil overseas, and we are also importing.
According to the U.S. Energy Information Administration, in 2021, the United States imported about 3.3% of its crude oil from Russia. Really, not much at all. But that doesn't factor into the price of oil.
It doesn't really matter necessarily how much oil any country is producing itself and consuming, internally, because the price of oil is really set, on a global basis.
Oil's cost is measured based on the global supply. So any supply disruption anywhere in the world will affect the cost of oil. However,
it's important to note that we actually haven't seen a supply disruption right now. What we're seeing happen in the oil markets is nervousness around a potential supply disruption.
So to sum it up, oil's price is measured across the globe. Any supply disruptions or nervousness anywhere causes the price to go up. And since gas is made from oil, gas prices go up with it. With Verify, I'm Max.
If life gave you a second chance, what would you do with it? Well, Jen Drummond is a mom of 7 who started climbing some of the world's tallest peaks after surviving a car accident. Earlier, we spoke with her about her journey. She's incredible. Take a look.
I encountered a semi-truck and ended up rolling 3 times, hanging upside down from my car in the median. And then about 2 weeks after the accident, I got a phone call from the police department. And they said, hey, we just wanted to let you know that we've tried to rebuild this accident about 50 different times, and we can't build a scenario where you survive. Just put it into perspective a lot deeper of who am I? Why am I here? What would they say if I was gone? What do I want my story to say? The 7-second summits are the second highest point on every continent, and they have not been done by a female before. All of us have to be bold enough to step into who we are. You have to be brave enough to put action behind that. And then whatever unfolds is a beautiful life because you're living your authentic self.
Wow, the tears continue over here. Please welcome to the show, Jen Drummond.
Wow.
Oh my goodness, you are incredible. You started this climbing expedition because of something one of your sons said back in 2020. Can you tell us what happened?
Yes, so we're in COVID times and my son is doing his math homework and does not want to do it and fighting me. And I said, listen, buddy, we do hard things. We got this. And he said, Mom, if we do hard things, why haven't you climbed Mount Everest yet? I said, all right, well, let's look at it. You get your math homework done first, and we'll see where it goes.
Wow.
All he had to do was math homework?
I know, right? Where's the fair?
Oh my gosh. Apples and oranges.
Yeah. Okay, so what was that very first climb like before you started the second summits?
It was my testing climb, and I was just open and curious and was out there in the wilderness at nighttime under that sky where you have no light pollution, you have no noise pollution. It was so comforting and so inspiring that I was excited to be able to go on the quest, because if I could spend more time in this environment, life is good.
Wow. Jen, I'm excited to talk to you today. I've just been kind of immersing myself in documentaries on Netflix all about climbing, and you doing this is just incredibly brave. People have no idea. You've completed 4 summits so far. Which one have been the toughest climbs for you?
You know, they're all unique and tough in their own way and beautiful in their own way. I will say that I am so glad that I climbed in Russia last September. Wow. Because who knows when it would be safe to go back there at this point. So in Russia, it's a very steep climb. It's not done very often, and you're roped off to the person in front of you. So a lot of the climbs, you can be fixed ropes, like Everest has fixed lines that you can lean on a little bit or somebody else is checking them. When you're roped off to the human in front of you, if either one of you slip, you're both sliding until one of you can arrest yourselves. And so just every step is that much more impactful, intentional, and serious. And that made that climb pretty intense.
Wow.
I bet.
Oh my God, I'm also into mountaineering, and I'm not like an outdoorsy person.
Mountaineering?
Yeah, K2, like Shackleton. I'm really into all this, and I'm very excited to speak with you. These hikes require a ton of training, but you're also a mom of 7. Okay?
Yeah.
So, wow. How do you balance this all? Walk us through a typical training day, if you can, Jen.
I will. So I am very intentional about my weeks. We set them up on the weekend. On Sunday nights, I'll look at everything that's going on in the calendar, book the workouts in, then personal things around that. A lot of days I will wake up early, do breakfast with the kids, drive them to school, do training while they're at school, pick them up from school. We do all of our homework and life afterwards. And then when they go to bed, if I have one more session to put in, sometimes it's weightlifting or stretching or just walking out your muscles because of the workout that day. I'll do it when they go to bed and rinse, wash, repeat.
Wow. Dang.
Oh,
Sounds
man.
easy.
So yesterday was International Women's Day. What would it mean to you to be the first woman to complete all of your goals?
I have goosebumps and chills just thinking about it. I can reflect back to my time in Antarctica. I just summited that mountain in January of this year. I was the first American woman to summit, the second female ever. And getting up on that mountain, there's a high camp that you stay the night at before you go for the summit push. When I was at that high camp, I was just rethinking about my mom and my grandma and society in general, that all the work that's been done has allowed me to be in the spot that I am now. And then the next morning I woke up and I just remember thinking every step I take up this mountain is a step for all of us.
Bravo. To our DBL Nation, follow Jen's remarkable journey by visiting her website, boldbraveandbeautiful.com. Thanks, Jen. We'll be right back.
Thanks. Bye.
Promotional consideration is brought to you by
Verify. I was wondering about some of these emails that people forward all the time. The new one I got the other day was about, it showed a picture of a horse galloping, and it said if you saw it going forward, you were either left or right brained, and then the opposite for going if you saw it going backward. Are these legitimate?
Hey Judy, thanks for your question. A lot of us have been told that everyone has a dominant side of the brain. Left-brained people are thought to be analytical and good with math, while right-brained people are thought to be more creative and artistic. The test that Judy referenced has more than 250,000 views on Twitter and claims to assess whether you're left-brained or right-brained. Now, before we get to your question about the test, Judy, let's start with the bigger picture. Are people either left-brained or right-brained? Our sources are 2 psychology professors, the Johns Hopkins Science of Learning Institute, and a study on left versus right brain dominance. Johns Hopkins and the Smithsonian Science Education Center say the left brain, right brain idea is considered a neuromyth, a common misconception about brain research. According to Johns Hopkins, quote, there is no scientific evidence that shows individuals use one half of their brain more than the other, or that being left-brained or right-brained determines a person's personality, learning style, or strengths, unquote. In 2013, a group of neuroscientists at the University of Utah studied the brain scans of more than 1,000 young people. While the scientists did find that some brain functions occur in one side of the brain or the other, they found no evidence to indicate that people have a dominant side of the brain. The Smithsonian Science Education Center says the left brain, right brain myth originated from a study conducted by neuropsychologist Roger Sperry in the 1970s and 80s. The study found that the 2 hemispheres of the brain are specialized for different functions. However, the center says those findings were misinterpreted to show associations between specific brain functions and personality types. So we can verify, no. People are not either left-brained or right-brained. So what about the tests like the one that Judy received? Well, psychology professor Dr. Indra Viscontis says the direction that you see the horse moving isn't a result of the left or right half of your brain. Instead, it has more to do with your visual cortex, located right here in the occipital lobe, which stretches into both cerebral hemispheres.
I don't think there's any evidence that extrapolates to any other aspect of the way you think or the way you behave or the things that you value.
If you see one of these tests on social media, psychology professor Dr. Roger Beatty has a suggestion.
Click the X button.
Well, there you have it. With your Verify, I'm Ariane Till.
Russia's economy is in a timeout. Let's connect the dots. Netflix has become the latest American company to cut ties with Russia, at least for now. The streaming giant suspending services over the country's invasion of Ukraine. Bloomberg reports Netflix currently has around 1 million subscribers in Russia. Other behemoths in the film industry, including Disney, Warner Brothers, Paramount Pictures, and Sony, have all delayed releasing their new films in Russian theater. Netflix also said it won't comply with a new Russian law that requires large streamers to host 20 Russian propaganda channels. TikTok also halting new video uploads and live streams in Russia in response to the country's new law. Microsoft, Google, Apple, and Samsung have also suspended sales in the country. And that is connecting the dots.
Welcome back. Everyone loves a good water slide, right?
I really do.
I don't. All right, here we go. Check out what happened to one woman, this would be me, who got trapped in a slide on a cruise ship.
Oh, no. On a cruise?
Okay, listen to this. The water pressure didn't push her all the way through. So she just went back and forth until she got trapped. Now, thankfully, she was okay and was able to get through a side door.
You know I hate a cruise, so this is even more reason why I hate a cruise.
It's such a... I got stuck once and I was like, ee! Not a good sound. DBL, we'll see you tomorrow. Bye, guys. Stay safe.